Andrew Jackson Davis on Clairvoyance, its origin, powers, and progressiveness. Blinded by prevailing materialism and deeply perplexed by the conflicting claims of an incoming spiritualism, the candid and brave yet cautious searcher after pure truth finds himself unable to fix a just valuation upon the natural powers of the human mind. On the materialistic side, he beholds man's mental attributes as so many exquisitely refined galvanic forces or self-conscious currents and throbbing emotions, evolved by the combined action of cerebrum and cerebellum. On the other hand, on the spiritualistic side, he beholds man's feelings and thoughts as so many manifestations of various superintending intelligences, of spirits and angels, more or less perfect, who perpetually originate and feed whatever he may think or feel. The first party consign him to the bottomless pit of oblivion at the moment of death, while the party of the second part, although opening the sky to him on leaving the earth, consign him to a mixed and dubious existence, well nigh unintelligible. The first teaches him that the mind is the most perfect fruit, the superlative degree of organization, upon the matter tree of the universal world. The second teaches him that mind is at best but a medium for the demonstration of disembodied mentalities. But is there not a third party who should be summoned to yield testimony upon this important question? Of this other group of witnesses, the writer is, and from the first has been, a well-known member and illustrator. Clairvoyance is as certainly a power of the human mind as is memory or consciousness. It is not derived or borrowed. It is innate and natural. That clairvoyance, as to its manifestations, can be simulated, I do not deny, but I do deny the doctrine with the authority of knowledge that the real power of vision can be projected by another's will into man's mind. And yet it is true, and this truth is of the first importance in all investigations, that magnetism or some influence equivalent is indispensable to its origin and growth. The insistent materialism of the physical body acts like a clog to the feet of the interior spirit. The blinded eyes behind the bodily organs of vision must be rubbed and brightened up by magnetism. But once truly opened, once perfectly developed through the cloud of brain matter, they can never again be wholly closed. To the eyes of the inward mind, amaurosis is an impossibility. Although, by the force of disease or the oppression of circumstances, the exercise of these wondrous eyes may be, nay, often is, suspended. Terrestrial or celestial magnetisms, and sometimes nothing but the refinements of certain attenuating diseases, are required to originate clairvoyance. But when fully established, when it is consciously a part of the mental operations of the mind and under the control of the will, which stage is the highest attainable in this world, it is a power of most wonderful scope. It has 4 phases, or more properly, in different persons, it is manifested in from 3 to 5 forms. The very highest is telescopic. I mean exactly what I say, telescopic. For example, the sun is supposed to be 92 million of miles from where I now write. Clairvoyance can bring it so near that it can scarcely be seen. Its extreme nearness strikes and blurs the mind's eyes, and yet these eyes do not see anything of that external sun which is contemplated by astronomers. It was a long time before I had perfectly and practically acquired this essential truth. Everything is seen from its vital points, thence outwardly and successively until the outmost or matter forms are fully discerned. Thus, clairvoyance is the vision of the natural eyes exactly reversed or inverted. And here it may be remarked that the mistakes and blunders of persons gifted with clairvoyance find in this fundamental fact a complete and all-sufficient explanation. Here, you are invited to read an eloquent and literally true delineation of the state termed the super condition, written by Dr. S.B. Britton, who is one of the most comprehensive thinkers and elegant writers in the new school. When our footsteps have encircled the earth, when we have surveyed all orbs in space and all outward forms of being on their surfaces, and even looked through the last open door in the stellar heavens into the outer darkness beyond, we have yet to penetrate the inner mysteries of being. Then the faculties, by a kind of introversion, begin to open in a new direction. We look inward and reach centerward, and at every step the mind is intromitted to a new and more interior sphere of being. The shadows that float in the dim atmosphere of our earthly life gradually disappear. The translucent forms of a superior creation hover about us, and from the loftiest summits of this world we behold the immortal dayspring. The grandest of all human discoveries is made when the senses are opened from within, and we are brought into conscious relations with the vast realm of the invisible and eternal. How does the spirit thrill with amazement and ecstasy at the grandeur of the scene presented, when the great veil that seemed to cover the world is suddenly drawn away, and we are made to realize that in the wide universe there is nothing concealed, that all doors are open to man. Before the vision of the philosophical seer, everything is transparent as the luminous ether. He dwells in a region of ineffable light and can know no darkness, save the obscurity that depends upon moral conditions or the existing state and relations of the soul. The solid earth becomes a crystal sphere. The rugged mountains stand out in the clear air white as alabaster forms, and the fathomless depths are discovered to be illuminated ways where the spirit may dwell in light and walk alone with God. If we gradually enter upon the inner life, we at once begin to see those divine realities which before were only objects of faith and hope. The stormy passions of this rude world are hushed, and sweet peace soothes the unresting heart. The music of glad voices and the universal harmony are precious realities to our waking consciousness. Radiant forms people our daydreams, or glide before us in visions of the night when deep sleep falleth on man. Through rifts in the clouds of our mortal sphere, we catch glimpses of happy faces, whose entrancing smiles are the intempered glories of God and His angels. If by a sudden and strong development of this vision we are caught up into heaven, things are revealed which the laws and limits of human speech do not enable us to communicate. But with reverent and grateful hearts we remember that, at the approach of the humblest soul, the everlasting doors of the inner temple are freely opened. The foregoing is a faithful description of the progressive stages which ultimate and blossom into the superior condition. The forms of clairvoyance are, first, a glimmering perception of things as in somnambulism. Second, a narrow and limited vision of disease, of personal acts, of metals, and of things terrestrial exclusively. Third, a discernment of personal states and emotions. Thence thought reading, psychometry, fortune-telling, and prophecy. But there is, in reality, no clairvoyance of much value until the higher phase is fully developed. And yet development is one of its ever-present possibilities. The mind must be harmonious, or at least considerably self-poised and tranquil. and the purposes of the seeker unselfish and exalted. Then the will is pure and under its direction, and the eyes of the immortal may be unclosed. A steady progressiveness will be likely to characterize the spiritual perceptions, which should be systematically exercised. The temple of the starry heavens will swing wide open its flaming doors, and the gardens of the summerland come as near as are the fields of earth to the bodily eyes. The very near worlds of matter melt away, and the very far-off spiritual universes sweep into your immediate presence. This is what happens to every worthy mind a few hours after death.